Hello and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host Brian. We're going to wrap up today with the sounds from my inbox, which is where I check out a few bands that are usually on the smaller side who have emailed me and asked me to look into their music. We do a little bit of analysis, a little bit of reaction, and the whole thing really helps promote some of these smaller bands, so it's really a win-win for everyone. Fans get to discover new music, bands get to get their name put out a little bit further, and honestly, I have found some fantastic bands from this program that have ended up on my Album of the Year list in the past. We're going to kick off today with a band called Gradience, who we've had on the channel before in this format. Last time they mixed up black metal with hip hop, and it was a really interesting combination. I'd love to see how they further it, so I was eager to check out their second single, Blindsided. Let's dive into it and see what Gradience is bringing to the table today. Very compressed vocals there. Single note riff from the guitars. Nice flow between the vocals and the drums. Got the synth in the background. Very ominous. Oh, it's actually two notes on that guitar. A little bit of a breakdown here. Oh. 1 minute 59 seconds. Definitely sitting on the shorter side of things, but seems accurate for the length of songs that are going these days. For reference, their first track, which just happened to show up, I would not remember a small detail like this, was 2:36, so a little longer, but not much. Yeah, I think this works in a little bit stronger capacity than last time, where I felt that the metal sections and the hip hop sections were a bit divorced. That's not to say that that doesn't work. I thought it was a great way of of moving between a low and a high, right? This one, though, pretty much runs the metal all the way through and presents something that I requested on the last one, which is a bit of a crossing over the threshold, because there was a little bit of rapping during the chorus in their first track, which was called This Abyss. I highly recommend going and checking it out if you enjoyed this. But it was sort of segmented, where the rapping was done in a more hip-hop style musical section and didn't show up in the metal section until the end of the track. And I was like, I'd like to hear more of that. And yeah, sure enough, we get a track that's only that. Yeah, as long as the album, I think, keeps up this type of variety, yeah, I think it's going to do well. I don't think that I have any criticism for variety in that means anymore. Just keep doing what you're doing. This one did go a bit simplistic in the musical writing, though. We had the two notes, the bum bum, bum bum, bum bum bum. I think it was a half step up, maybe, and then comes back down, and that's the idea through the whole track. Even the chorus shares this, although it changes up the rhythm just a hair bit. It's just these two notes. We do have the synth in the background though, gives us our chord. The chord is very eerie on top of this heavy weight that the guitar is dropping. And the drums give us a little bit of rhythmic variety that I think pairs well against the rhythmic variety we get in the rapped vocals. In fact, I think the verse here is the strongest element, as there is a nice interplay between the vocals and the rhythmic elements in the drum kit. But that doesn't mean that the chorus doesn't work. It just works on a completely different area of music. It is heavy, driving. It is everything that I look forward to, I suppose, in like death metal, deathcore, that type of area. It's like a consistent breakdown. It's always heavy all the time, and the vocals lean into that very well. On top of which, we also get the layered vocals between the usual harsh vocalist and I assume Cabal, who is featured on this track. It's sort of mimicking the idea that they had from this Abyss of having a musical separation between the two sides. This one was a bit less prominent of that, because we didn't have a spacious versus a filled type of composition, but we have rhythmic and groovy versus heavy and driving. We sort of bounce back and forth there. And then, of course, we have the bridge, which is a nice breakdown. It presents us a single note idea, which, yeah, I mean, that's what a breakdown typically is. Just pick a low note and just hammer away at it. And then we finish the track on a high note. Yeah, I think it absolutely works. It is something that I'm definitely going to have to check out when the album drops. I don't know if it's going to be something that I thoroughly enjoy, but I am enjoying the diversity here. I don't think I've heard too much rap metal aside from what nu metal was doing in the 2000s with stuff like, Linkin Park. Actually, there was quite a few. I can't think of them, though. Mixing rap delivery within the nu metal genre specifically was very popular in the 2000s, but I haven't heard any true metal, if I'm going to put on my gatekeeper hat for just a quick second, like this. This definitely feels like it sits within the realm of death metal. And then, utilizes the rapping and a little bit of the hip hop style beats from the drums rather than traditional death metal drumming in here. And it's just a really cool combination of sounds that I don't think I've heard before. So, if nothing else, I'm intrigued just to see where they take this, and that is what I'm looking forward to when the album drops, is just to explore their mind, how they're going about crafting this sound, because as far as I know, there isn't anybody else really doing it right now. Pulling up the lyrics. This track seems to be about having some sort of internal conflict. It says, I'm blindsided, all I feel is this inferno all around me, embers all around me. Is this eternal? I don't know. That's our chorus. It's about seeing red and hoping that it isn't forever because it isn't you. And I think there's that one line there. Is this eternal? I don't know. It feels saddened about it, or maybe scared. I don't know how long this is going to last. That kind of vibe. The verses speak about a carelessness, trying to seem cool. At least that's what the first one says. Pulling straws just to toss them, I don't care. Loading rounds to an eerie sound while I walk an aisle to nowhere. The very end, though, I think talks about something occurring that they wish didn't. It says, poke my eyes, trying to minimize all the blaring lights, but I stare. We go into the chorus. I stare blindsided. All I feel is this inferno. So it's about sort of just existing a little bit on the edge, of course, but not wanting this to happen and then being blindsided by this anger, this rage, this fire. The second verse kind of moves into a bit of a horror delivery, as it speaks about this thing breaking free. It says, seeping out from an open valve with no switch, Murky thoughts fill the rooms. I'm bound to scratch, but no itch. Something inside, so I crack the paint and break the nails. So I clawed a path and I smashed the gate with my fists. Yeah, it's speaking about something trying to get out. And then, of course, we get right back into the chorus. Blindsided, all I feel is this inferno. So yeah, something scary within you that can come out without you knowing and takes over, and you just hope that it ends soon. I think having this brooding beat, the boom boom, boom boom, just like constant movement underneath the track, and then the eerie synths, it all sort of paints a really nice picture that fits well with what's going on lyrically in this track. Next up, we have the band BAITS. They're Vienna-based rock group that's as self-described as they got a knack for hooks. I love that. They're promoting their upcoming album called All Filler, No Killer, which I think is phenomenal, with the track Sleep With You. So that's what we're going to dive into right here. Just shy of 3 minutes, another short track for today's video. Let's dive in and see what BAITS is bringing to the table. Oh yeah. The music's already giving me a strong vibe. It's interesting, some of the words have a doubling to them, and others don't. It's sort of gazy, but it's bright. But like the vocals sort of remind me of grunge. I like the little guitar interlude. Nice extended tom run there. Also the half-length verse 2, which is so they're combining the interlude with okay. I like this little guitar idea over here. Yeah, I can get behind that. It's a really nice middle point between like shoegaze and poppy ideas and oddly grunge. It's whatever sits in the Venn diagram of those three. It's very catchy. Um, the vocal melody I think is going to be stuck in my head for a while. And the guitars have a bright upliftingness in their composition. The chords that are chosen. You know what's also interesting? My mind is scattered right now. I want to talk about like 10 things at once. When the vocals were lower the first time and second time through the chorus, that gave me a very grunge feel. I don't know if it was just the range, because I'm pretty sure we only went up an octave, which means our harmonic properties were the same. At the end of the track, when we had the higher pitched line, same sentence from the vocalist, just a higher pitched line during that final chorus, this felt bright and poppy to me. And I think it was just an octave thing. So again, the harmonic quality isn't changed. So I don't know where I got that grunge feeling from, unless it's just the texture of the lower vocal. I don't know. I got to go back and listen to it again, figure out where my thoughts lie on that. But there's also this darkness, this grittiness, this compression and distortion and destruction that's happening in pretty much all the guitar work, because it is very gazy. It's just got a ton of effects put on top of it to erase as much of the original guitar timbre as possible, to really give it that fuzzy sound. And so it comes together. There's probably a term for this, right? Poppy, bright, shoegaze. There's got to be a genre for that already. I feel like when it comes to the world of gaze subgenres, there's like every band has their own subgenre. There's just so many of them. It's kind of bonkers. But I also love how much variety goes on in this. So our second verse creates variety by being half the length of our first one. It also has a growing anticipation of energy, as we have an extended drum fill at the end of it, where we didn't have one at the end of the first verse. We have the guitar interlude between chorus 1 and verse 2, but that guitar interlude comes in under the vocals the second time through the chorus. And it leads us into our outro, which takes the vocal line from the chorus up an octave and adds in this left panned additional guitar line. The song is rather simple structurally. It's A, B, A, B, B variation. But it does something interesting within that. It ensures that no section feels identical to the one before it. Our two verses are distinct. Our two choruses are... Actually, all three of our choruses are distinct. They all have a different element to it. The first one is just the chords from the guitar. The second one has the interlude underneath it. And the third time through, we have a brand new guitar part. And so, despite hearing the chorus so many times, in such a short track too, I think if we cut out the ending, it's only about 2.5 minutes. The chorus takes up a vast majority of this, especially since our second verse is cut short. I'd say probably half the time we listen to this track is this one idea. So it definitely pays off to make sure that you change it as often as possible if it's what you're going to be subjecting a listener to, not even just the majority of the time, but over half of the length of the song, I'd wager. It is a straightforward rock track, though. So I don't think that there's a lot to dive into analytically here, but I do appreciate the vibe they're going for. It feels good to listen to. It's catchy, and I'm a sucker for contrast, so the variations always work for me. Well, unfortunately, I could not find any lyrics for this, so we are going to move on. We're going to check out the next group called Yesterdaze, where daze is spelled like D-A-Z-E, not D-A-Y-S. We're going to be looking at the track FMK. They released this on Valentine's Day. It's a rock anthem for the brokenhearted. Let's dive into this, see what's going on with Yesterdaze. So a bit more hard rock than BAITS' style of rock. It's interesting just how diverse different subgenres can be. Very present vocal placement. I like the harmony on the vocals.
Now that your memory
do wish this section was actually quieter rather than just seemingly emptier. Yeah, like there should be a volume difference between these. If you look over there on the far left, and there isn't. They're all full volume. I do like the contrast though. See, and if it actually was quieter, that punch at the beginning of the chorus would have more impact. Interesting variation of that guitar riff. Halftime. Very interesting. So I honestly thought we were going to see here actually something that I described just a little bit ago about verse, chorus, utilizing the bridge as an outro. And we sort of saw that, but in the last like 10 seconds, they actually introduced a proper outro, which is not exactly what I had anticipated. I honestly figured we were going to leave out on the bridge, but no, they kicked it up a notch right in the last few seconds, which was pretty cool. The basic riff here, I think, works really well at driving the song forward. It works both in the full-bodied chorus and in the lighter single-note verse that we have. Keeps the song moving forward. The drumming is functional, but does a great job. Same with the bass. They're a very solid rhythm section to this. The vocal hooks are where it's at, 100%. They're very catchy, especially the chorus. And there's a lot of nice syncopation in it, like bulletproof comes in on the offbeat of one, but bulletproof. I love that. It allows I think the whole band cuts out for that beat one as well, so that there's a half a beat of silence and then the word bulletproof comes in and then everybody comes in on like beat two or something like that. And so not only do we have the syncopation of utilizing hits off of the beat, but we also have a gap of silence on the downbeat, so we don't even get the accent on the downbeat from like the snare. It's actually a really great way to introduce groove and syncopation and surprise all in like half of a second's worth of information. And it drives the back end of the chorus in a fantastic way. I said my one criticism already, but the quieter sections aren't actually quieter, and I feel like the louder sections lose their impact because there's no volume disparity there. So when we punch into the chorus, especially on the second time through, I don't remember this on the first chorus, but moving from the second verse into the second chorus, there's an explosion of sound that comes in on that downbeat, and it just doesn't feel like an explosion. I mean, I can hear it. There's almost like a widening of the sound. We have like 2 extra layers coming in. It's bigger, but it's not louder, and I think it loses impact from that. I don't know if this is a proper fix though. This is something that I hear a lot in mainstream music, is just run it at full volume all the time. It's a product of the loudness wars. It's just how music is produced these days. But also if you look at rock outside of this, especially progressive rock, you look at bands like Porcupine Tree or Leprous, you can find bands utilizing volume dynamics within this same sonic profile. And to me, that just sounds better. You really want dynamics in your work, especially if you're introducing dynamics into your work. You have a quiet and a loud part. Why do they have the same volume? And so, like, I don't know if that's even something the band talked about. It's quite possible the producer just did that because this is how rock music is produced, unfortunately. And there's certainly some songs that I think work well with it. And I don't think that this song is worse because it doesn't have volume dynamics. I honestly think that its intended audience isn't going to care, right? If this becomes a radio hit tomorrow, people are just going to love it. It sounds great. It's fun to listen to. It's got a great hook. No one's really going to notice that the volume doesn't dip during the quieter sections. And that's why it works. That's why it's a staple. It's why it continues to get done this way. But at least for my opinion, I think that as a work of art and not a commercial product, this would absolutely benefit from having a wider dynamic range to it. As for the bridge, like I said, that was a nice way to kick up the intensity. We took the guitar riff that we already had and just injected more notes into where there was space. It was a nice adaptation of the original riff, ran that to the end, and then gave us the explosive ending. Yeah, really well written in a lot of ways. Yeah, it's a solid hard rock anthem, and I think they know what they're writing, and they leaned into it well. Let me find some lyrics, and then we'll keep pushing through on this. And it's what it says on the tin. It is an anti-love. Is that what it was? A rock anthem for the brokenhearted. It's exactly what it is. The verses are about coming out the other side of a relationship that wasn't working, and I mean, honestly, as most love songs do, this has a whole, I don't know, 20 unique lines. You can't really get too in depth as far as from a poetic lyrical perspective without adding a lot more time for lyrics to develop. But it's very one-sided. It's, you ruined everything. It was your fault the relationship ended. And I'm just, I'm collateral from the end of this. The verse says, I'm not the deeds that you made, but I'm what's left behind. Every action, every wrong, the game was your design. The pre-chorus says, I loved you, stood by you. You forgot that three's a crowd. It's too late to wonder why. And the chorus moves into the way that all of this affected him. Now it's over. You're killing me again. We'll never fly so high. Now that your memory shuffles, we're back where it began. Yeah. It's about being hurt by somebody and painting them as the villain of the story, which I know it feels like I'm hanging on to that one topic. It's how love songs and breakup songs are built. When it comes to love, it's, I'm doing everything I can for you. When it comes to breakup, it's you ruined everything. There's very few introspective or neutral breakup songs out there, especially, big rock anthems. But I mean, it is what it is. I'm not trying to poke at it. It is just something that I'm picking up on. The outro says, I loved you, but I'll kill the memory. Stood by you, but I'll kill the memory. It's over. Yeah, it's about being hurt, coming out the other side, and wanting to be better about it. Wrapping up today, we're going to look at Icosandria. Maybe Icosandria. Not sure on the pronunciation. They're listed as a post-metal / post-black metal group from Porto. We're going to be looking at a track from their upcoming album, A Scarlet Lunar Glow, which comes out April 7th. Let's dive into Black Hole 1999. Got that harmony in there. Just chugging along. Nice synth tone in the background that create an animosity to the track. It's eerie but dangerous. there's the black metal. Oh, interesting direction though. Very neat. Very ominous. I think that's the word for this track. I love that. The layered harshes with the melody carried by the guitar. The shifting rhythm pulse. Yeah, I was expecting a breakdown. We still had a minute to go, and there's been a lot of core elements to this. Interesting direction to take this melodically with these guitars. Yeah, what an interesting way to wrap that track up. Just consistently subverting my expectations. I'm gonna have to keep an eye on this group. They're doing some really interesting things. So I think it's interesting they label themselves as post-metal because, this is one of those instances where a genre created a name for itself that meant something very different at the inception. Post-metal was just taking the ideas of metal and going in a different direction. But as time grew on, post metal became a very specific direction of going in a different direction. And there aren't a lot of sections in this track that feel like traditional, or I guess what post metal has come to become, which is slow burns and layers and wall of sound. Though there is a wall of sound in here, post black metal seems very accurate given that there is a blackened element to this track and the production is rather crispy. It's compressed in a way that I kind of wish wasn't as compressed, but I think works well for their aesthetic. It's one of those things where it's not a bad idea of what they're doing. I don't really like the compressed sounds. I like having more room between my instruments, though I can't disagree that it absolutely presents a specific atmosphere and feeling for the song that absolutely works for what they're doing. So it's not a bad thing at all. Um, but what I find most perplexing is just how much hardcore stuff comes into this play, particularly stuff that comes from post-hardcore, which is pairing melodic stuff with heavy sections, which we do get in here. Also, the harmonic qualities of the guitar melody during what I think is the chorus feels very post-hardcore-y to me. It's kind of bonkers how well all of this works. We also had a punky section in the middle, which hardcore is punk. So there seems to be a very strong influence from punk music in general on this track that also takes a lot of metal, particularly black metal influence as well, and sort of smashes them together. And all of this is brought to a head with our guitar solos at the end of the track, which remind me a lot more of heavy metal and subsequently death metal than black metal or post-hardcore at all. It's a track that's sort of all over the place on the genre bingo card, and I find that to be quite fascinating. It's why I want to keep an eye on them. There's certainly some qualities to this track that are not my cup of tea, but there's other qualities that are, and the way that they're mixed with the stuff I'm not typically a fan of is intriguing. This song doesn't really leave me in a place of any section where I'm like, I don't like this at all. There's always some portion of every moment of this track that I'm like, I can jam with this. I'm digging this. I might not enjoy what's going on around it, but I really like this one section, and I particularly like that it's placed against this other sound. It's fascinating. I'm going to have to check out. Is this a whole album? Oh no, the whole album comes out on the 7th of April. Do they have anything else? They have an EP from 2022, and that's it. So, yeah, I'm going to be checking that EP out. 4 songs, 23 minutes. That is quite a bit of time there for a 4-track album. They got an almost 8-minute song in here, which is pretty cool. And I'll be looking forward to this release 2 months from now. Interesting stuff. Also the vocals, right? The higher pitched vocals aren't quite as narrow as a black metal shriek would be. They're kind of wider while still being higher pitched, which reminds me of stuff like post-hardcore. But it's also undercut and usually layered against some harshes, which black metal and also death metal, a lot of extreme metals use the growls in there. And I think that the minor nuance in the perceived timbre of the higher harshes layered against and getting that texture harmony of the lower growls, it comes together in an interesting way that presents something quasi-harmonic, so much so that while I'm listening to the higher vocals, I'm like, there's not much pitch movement going on here, but for some reason I hear this melodically because whenever the guitar comes in underneath it, I'm like, oh yeah, the guitar counterpoint. But it's not really counterpoint because the vocals aren't giving us a melody, but like, it feels like counterpoint. There's something melodic going on with the vocals that I'm not quite sure how to articulate yet because I don't quite understand it, but I find it fascinating that my brain registers it as such. So yeah, we have a lot of ideas going on in here. We come back to the chorus plenty of times, which I find interesting for a black metal track to hit the chorus like 3 times. But again, it's post-black metal, and like I said, it's post-metal in the original, description of the word, where this is a very metallic sound, but it's going in a very different direction, and I appreciate that. When I heard post-metal, I was expecting slow burn, and this is anything but that. Though it does bring in, as I mentioned earlier, the wall of sound. Anything that isn't center channel, which is primarily the vocals and lead guitar and drums, sits on the outside of just this amorphous sonic wall. I really can't make out individual instruments. It's all just kind of clashes together into this barrier, an atmosphere that is entirely dense and palpable that surrounds the more melodic aspects of the track. It is sort of post-metally in that direction, but also something that I find to be of great diversity within the track. It is certainly very upfront about being textural and emotional. We have strong elements of atmosphere in here, but it also isn't the core or the only element in the song. Melody is a very strong component to this, as is harmony, presenting multiple melodies at the same time and creating secondary textures based on how the notes clash with each other or resonate with each other. And it's just, yeah, this is on the cusp of something great, and I gotta be here when it happens. I gotta check out this album. I think these guys are going someplace, and they're gonna push the genre in new directions, and I gotta be there for that. Let's check out some lyrics. I didn't know I could become more interested in this. Their own description states that this track is the genesis of our cosmic horror saga, a haunting ode to a moon-shaped entity whose enigmatic presence looms over Earth. Witness its celestial descent and the unraveling of mysteries that defy comprehension. But this cosmic spectacle also lies a reflection of the human psyche, a tapestry woven with threads of existential dread and societal discord. This song serves as a mirror, inviting introspection into the depths of our collective consciousness. Very interesting. The opening verse says, "As the cold slits your tongue, the final moment has begun." Really setting the scene for what we're going to be talking about. Engraved in poisoned air, he sung, the fallen prophet praised by one collective mob that crucifies those who speak against their lies, deviations from normality condemned to death by bigotry. Very interesting. So we have some sort of a fallen prophet that a mob follows and will do anything they can, including, as they state, crucifixion, which is the word they chose, which symbolizes a very specific type of death that has been religiousized. I don't know if that's a word, but crucifixion used to be just a normal thing in the Roman days, and then in the Christian mythology, because Jesus was crucified, now it's a holy type of death, of execution. So very interesting to use that specific word. But it says that they'll crucify anyone who speaks against them. The next verse says, there are some, no, I say it's not worth the wait. Wait as in how much something weighs, not waiting as in time. Jungian thought, 12 rules of life. Peasant solution for simple minds, Christian mythos, conditioned optimists, toxic veil to gather feeble men, apocalyptic philosophy shrouded in hustle fallacy, portrayed by alien leeches, grinding 9 to 5 monstrosity. Yeah, it's definitely taking a look at modern life. We have mob culture in here, mob mentality, which is, I mean, it could talk about just about anything. Um, I don't know how it is in the rest of the world. I know the world's fairly divided on some topics, but as far as like a global presence, I don't know exactly how the world sits. But I do know in America we are hyper divided in a way that, at least from my understanding of history and what little I've lived through, we've never been like before, aside from maybe the Civil War. I think we were pretty divided on that one, just a little bit. We're definitely reaching some tensions here. Um, but yeah, the world's divided, and we allow most people to sit in echo chambers, regardless of what side that is. Whether it's physical echo chamber, just your friends around you, your family who you associate yourself with, or if it's online, finding communities that only regurgitate things that you want to hear. There's definitely a way for people to get caught up in mobs to basically crucify. It's an extreme word, but I think it's supposed to be extreme. Anyone who speaks against them. The final line of that verse, though, I think points to something very specific: condemned to death by bigotry. I think that speaks to a very specific group of people, but we're not going to make this little video here political. I think it speaks for itself. Um, the second verse, though, speaks about the modern day experience of life. Peasant solutions for simple minds. We got to keep people stupid and give them simple things to do. It says there's a toxic veil to gather feeble men. I think this lends itself well to exploring the rise of alpha male culture and that whole part of the alt-right movement that's going on right now. But it also looks at the work idea, how this is portrayed by alpha leeches, not alpha men, but alpha leeches, people who are doing nothing but dragging things down and stealing as much as they can while they're presenting this concept of being alpha. All of this is also shrouded in the hustle fallacy of grinding 9 to 5. People are working themselves to death. It is, yeah, it's a very big magnifying glass to modern life, at least from the lens of, well, interestingly, this comes from Portugal, the group. But I find a lot of things that they're saying to line up with experiences I have in modern USA. So I'm curious just how wide-reaching these lyrics might be, how much of a global outreach they have. The chorus says, "The time is nigh, no more wait, no delay. You say there are some who gaze down upon us, yet heaven is not our fate." I like that. Yeah, I'm interested to see where these guys go with this. Musically, I'm sold. It's a very interesting, eclectic combination of sounds. Lyrically, I think they're touching on some really important stuff. I'd like a little bit more weight thrown behind it. Maybe it's just because it's written a bit densely that maybe I'm missing some of the nuance. But I'd love some bite. Maybe the bite's there and I'm just missing it though. But I am picking up on a lot of really great ideas here. And in a way, it's reminding me of some of the feelings I had towards Ashenspire's album Hostile Architecture from a couple years back. So yeah, I'm on board musically and lyrically. April can't come soon enough, I suppose. Those are my thoughts on Gradience, BAITS, Yesterdaze, and Icosandria. Let me know what your thoughts are on all of this. Did you enjoy any of these tracks? Anything stand out to you? Are you going to be checking out any of these 4 songs on your own and exploring the albums when they come out? As usual, I'm not going to put my links in the description box. I'm going to put links for these bands, all of their streaming platforms, their home pages, merch pages, and social medias. Reduce as much friction as possible. If you liked something, go into the description. You'll find a link to go and listen to more or to support them any way that you want. You won't have to do any web searching yourself. As usual, above that, if you could, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. When you head over to any of their pages, make sure you do the same. Show them some love from the critical reactions community. Hearts, thumbs up, whatever. that the platform uses. I'll be back tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 10 p.m. UTC as usual. We're going to check out more of y'all's favorite riffs. Until next time, remember to be critical, not cynical, of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening, whenever you choose to watch my videos.